Anyway, hardware challenges, always super fun and exciting. Hooray. So, when we last left, ugh. Anybody, how's your condition situation, Jason?
You're muted.
I am proudly, but unfortunately, conditionless.
Nope.
I see. All right then, that's exciting.
Everything's coming up roses.
They can fix that.
Everything's coming up Quill. I love little bits. I love little bits in various shows and stuff that I watch that they don't ever bother calling attention to, but just sort of happen. And one of the things that we're currently watching our way through the Dragon Riders television series. There were two seasons that they did on Cartoon Network that were not great. And everybody seemed to acknowledge that they weren't great. And Cartoon Network released the license and they gave it to somebody else, and Netflix got it. And they have 6 more seasons, and they're so good. But one of the things that they do in there, and I was reminded of it when everything's coming up Quill kind of a thing, is when the kids do anything awesome, rather than saying like woohoo or hooray or anytime they would normally cheer, most of them, not Astrid or Hiccup, but most of them shout their own name as they're like snot loud. One of them takes it a little bit further and actually has a little cheer, sometimes a song that he does. But yeah, fish legs, all that kind of stuff. It's great. Just to shout just to blow their own horn. And it's a very Viking sound. It's a very Viking-like thing. It's pretty funny. Anyway, all right. So Jason's condition. Does anybody want to do a recap, or we can just jump right into things? Because the summary, the broad stroke summary of what happened last time
I think I've done enough recaps for the moment.
You think? Episode, so. Because I was starting to feel a little bit like James at this point. Like by the end of the week, I was like, okay, guys, I seriously am getting to the point where I can't keep up. Wow.
How about this? If Dave does the recap, Jason takes a condition.
Well, he does. The problem was it was like compounded because he does the recap, but then he's like, and now I have to do it for the other character I'm responsible for. So yeah, that was like the that was the feedback. That was the recap version of like audio feedback. It's getting everything, getting every scene from 2 different directions, sometimes 3, because then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, this particular scene we're going to also get from Summer's point of view.
Yeah, Summer's going to make a comment about this.
Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like caper movies, like when they like. They show you the scene again later from a different point of view to show you how they actually grabbed the MacGuffin at that point, or whatever. Yeah. Except
more teen angst.
Except that, yeah, it was basically just to show that nobody was in control of anything and everyone was freaking out like all the time. Which
one of my favorites of that with Leverage is where they did like one whole episode was the girls' view.
And then the next episode was the guys.
Episode was the boys' view.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. And you're like, why are these guys acting like this? This is really kind of out of character for them. And you see the next thing and like, oh, I see. Okay then.
Yeah. Don't believe me when I say that people are posting on the forums nonstop. So when I got on at lunch to start catching up, and that my dad had posted in the last 1 minute.
Yep.
Yeah, catching up on that is a full-time job.
It kind of is. I get the stuff emailed. See, this is the problem. I get the notifications sent and the contents of the posts. And apologies to all of you who are, if anybody's listening to this, I know some people are listening to it, and they're like, will you just get on with the game? And instead you're hearing about all the stuff that you're not reading on the forums. But I get the stuff sent to me like a notification, but the notifications include the text of the message, which is terrifying for a lot of this. Some of it isn't that bad, but a lot, because some of them are just something like as simple as one word that says muglicious or whatever. But when they're the recaps and stuff, it's this, it sends you the text of the post, but it doesn't put in any carriage returns or anything.
Yeah, there's no formatting in it.
So
So
it's just
not...
this terrifying block of text, this wall that looks like a PGP encryption code that goes on for 4 pages. And I'm like, oh my God, how long is this going to be when I actually get in there? But
I try to keep things short for that reason. But for my money, that's not the biggest pet peeve that I have with the notifications.
What's your biggest pet peeve with the notifications?
If you click view post, it should take off the notification for you to read that post.
Yes, up at the top. I just go up into the notifications because I never look at those notifications because I get everything in email. So I just go.
I have to look at them, but what kills me is that they're using Mandrill for their mailing, and Mandrill has webhooks that could call back to the Roll20 app and say, hey, this person clicked through to this post, and then that webhook could just clear that notification. It could be done. They just haven't done it.
Yeah. Huh. And what I do is I go back into those notifications every so often and go, delete it. Yeah, clear all. Usually when it hits 4 digits worth of notifications, I clear it, which, to be fair, only takes a couple of weeks because we're great. Everybody's stuff was great. I'm gonna just tip of the hat to. Did we ever decide who the dude was with the green button-down shirt? Was that one of the teachers that Adam had drawn? Because I love those little sketches.
I have like an entire another set I just haven't posted yet because I got 2 more to do for that row.
I need to grab all those. Images.
Who was the guy in the green shirt?
It was one of the teachers. Honestly.
Okay.
There were a whole bunch of them who got added last time. So
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
They show up on random a lot. That's great.
Mr. Hayden.
Is that the language arts?
He wants to be the department head.
Is that language arts?
Yeah.
Oh, he is the department head. He's just.
Yeah, right. He
was a little bloodthirsty about it.
Stuff behind the scenes to become department head. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I like how you did that because he looks like a stand-in for the guy playing Clark Kent in Smallville. He's just like this little innocent-faced boy. No, it's all been great. I got to chop up all those into separate images so I can just use them as reference points for when we.
Well, and if you do that for the months, we can like post them into the wiki.
I will.
I was gonna do that, but ran out of time.
I was gonna say if you're gonna do that, I can easily separate them and actually make them look good. But
they already look good. But you do whatever you need to do to feel happier about it.
Oh, and trust me, no, they don't.
I enjoy them. You know. There are many an RPG game where I will at some point in time find my wife's D&D campaign, and I want to say for the record, the guy who did this is not good at all. But one of her most treasured things that she has are the notebook sheets, where one of her co-players using like a crappy little Bic ballpoint pen drew all the characters for the D&D game as bears. And again, I want to reiterate, he's not good. It's sort of a running joke, and he doesn't make any attempt to get better. I can find you the stuff that he posted from Inktober this year, which is 20 years since those pictures were ever drawn, and it's not an improvement. If anything, he's gotten worse. And they're still treasured. It's not a so these are delightful and wonderful, and in many cases, in many games I've been in, would have been the crown jewel of any player's thing to have a sketch, even a little quick warm-up sketch, like you say that these are, to represent their character. You could have done this session 1 and we would have called ourselves the Kings of Infinite Space for having these for our characters. Instead, we have the backdrop that we have right now, which is amazing. Which is my way of saying we value intensely your contribution to the game, even when you're saying, oh no, these are terrible.
Here.
And I value everybody else's contributions, even when it's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of pictures of coffee mugs. Because
I will say that one is my pet peeve. We get the emails and you know there's a picture. It doesn't show you the picture.
That's also
He
true.
challenged me. I just left it at that. He was the one who started it.
I mean, I have to hand it to you
I
guys
think
because
someone started it with absconding with the chili trophy. Just saying.
that was pretty good. Well, you opened the door by
you
saying
left yourself open to that.
I was gonna say you said he missed one of them, and that turned into this whole thing. There's so much drama in Gardner. We could just do at some point in time, I'm just gonna do a Monster Hearts game just set in Gardner. But I'm gonna need an entirely different set of players because maybe Mike, but literally I think everybody else would hate Monster Hearts. So I know Dave and Margie would. I'm 50-50 on James, and I don't know that. Bill, what's your opinion on Monster Hearts as a game?
I would play Blade
You would play Blade
or Van Helsing. I mean,
Blade the high school student.
yeah, that'd be amazing.
I
Monster.
think my father has forgotten he has a beautiful daughter who loves role-playing games, and he never asked to be a part of his games, like ever.
I totally asked, but you have homework. Which, incidentally, footnote: you have homework. Do your homework. The problem with the Blade guy, it'd be hard to pull off in Monster Hearts 2 because they took out the chosen character. They had a Buffy-like playbook that they had in the original version of Monster Hearts, and then they took it out because they realized that like everybody else is in this certain vein, and then they have like one playbook of, oh, I want to kill all the rest of y'all, which was problematic in play, let's say.
Yeah, the short version is probably not my speed, but I would find it fun. So, did we figure out recap or?
Yeah, I mean, if we can do a recap or not, there's literally like 3 things that happened, and we can quickly summarize it up. Sorry, we've now meandered for 10 minutes, but if somebody wants to recap, they certainly can.
Actually, Bill summed it up in 2 bullets in the wiki.
Which was
So, the
Let's
team
have
is
that.
situated at Gardner Academy and discovers Alycia Chin has been enrolled as well. And Rosarick tries to partner with Jason Quill's foundation to create a hospital on the site of the Dimension Bomb, claiming that she hopes to exploit the area's unique physics properties for benevolent purposes.
And I will add a 3rd bullet list to say that one of the Quill lawyers had a long, very in-depth conversation with Charlotte about her legal personhood and the pursuit thereof.
You really should have been on there. I'll add it now.
Oh, okay, I'll let you go ahead and do it now.
So that
I was
will.
starting to.
So that's the only other thing I would add.
No, absolutely.
And I think that's probably the highlights. And then we were going to all meet at the Quill compound later. I'm going to go kind of around a little bit and see what people are doing because there's a gap there, a lacrosse practice sized gap, give or take, basically for everybody but Jason, I think, to figure out or talk about anything else that they might be doing or going or anything like that. So Charlotte had gotten a text from Jason? I think it was Jason. About, and then she had sort of functioned as backup. So you were kind of there eavesdropping on that conversation, Charlotte. You had gotten the text in the coffee shop and then sort of rendezvoused over there and sort of eavesdropped on the conversation with Rosa Rook. And then what did you do for the next little while?
Well, immediately thereafter, I was telling Jason why all of this was really bad.
Yes. And the whole situation might be moot simply because we could close this dam. If we could figure out a way to close this, we could close it up, and then we don't have to worry about this pesky little bit of temptation.
Probability.
Unless, of course, Rosa discovers that there's a similar shaped probability hole over in the middle of the cemetery.
I don't
Well,
want.
and that was actually where I was going to go next. Is there some way that we can use this knowledge to expand our own understanding of like creating something to search for these things?
Maybe, possibly. I mean, you could certainly. I mean, just from a Boolean search kind of point of view, you could probably set up some sort of search just to talk about, to look for people talking about weird, weird stuff happening, or that's kind of weird in a superhero world. That's probably not going to pick up much. I mean, you've got, you've already kind of established, Charlotte, a little bit that you at least theoretically have the ability to detect these things with an ease, which isn't to say it's easy, but with an ease far greater than, mechanical means. Like the Vuratovians only really found it because they've sort of figured it out from you guys. Rook's probably the same kind of way, or they were honestly, they were probably half investigating or checking out the building because they were trying to figure out why Quill was suddenly interested in it. I mean, there's a certain amount of that, but replaying events and stuff like that is going to lead them to probably it's very, very easy for them to go, to simply send the big one right there, to send, a pseudo mourner with a bouquet of flowers through the cemetery to just wander around, and inside the bouquet of flowers is a little readout device, and wait for the LEDs to all die. Once they figure out kind of what they're looking for, it wouldn't be hard for them to figure out that something's amiss over there too. But again, they can't exploit that as easily because it's open ground, and they're not going to get a building built in the middle of the cemetery, and they're not going to be able to get ownership of it either because it's city property, and Aegis has their eyes on it because of assorted previous weirdness. The building's another thing. Finding them around.
Actually, I think I'm wondering if a better way to go about this. I mean, one is figuring out how to close them.
Yeah.
But two is, we have that whole website where all the fan folk, you track the battle between.
Yes.
And that would probably be an interesting thing to determine if you some of those sites there are similar problems.
Yeah, I mean that is I mean, you don't know how complete it is, but it certainly seems pretty complete. They've certainly put together a pretty extensive timeline of that fight. And even without the timeline, they've got locations and stuff. Now, odds are there were probably also things that happened, deep in the Alps that nobody saw. But that certainly.
So really, the number one priority though is figuring out how to close these.
Yeah,
them.
That would probably be your first.
Yeah, because I don't want to give away anything to other people until we can figure out how to take care of it.
Right, and if you can drastically
we may set up a background the sites by
just
something well.
As kind of someone who's really trying to look at helping people these days, I will say this, that nefarious skullduggery aside, Rosa Rook is not completely wrong in terms of how something like this could help people. It's horribly risky, and there's all sorts of ways it could do terrible things, but before we just say, let's close these things off, I think we need to think about,
But what is the damage that they're already doing?
The wounds?
Yeah.
I mean, from a completely mundane point of view, they don't seem to have any kind of effect at all outside of the probability muckery. And that's kind of localized. That's much more. There's a certain. So here's a fun thing. You didn't see any kind of that probability absolutism in the fight with the Viertovians in that area. So it's a more recent thing. It's something that's happening as a result of the phase of the moon.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, Monday. So that there's to Jason's point and yours, there's a whole bunch here you guys don't necessarily understand. Could it be leveraged? Yes. Are the consequences, possible fallout, and potential benefits fully understood? Not remotely. The GM is personally and parenthetically patting himself on the back for even giving Jason pause to consider, like, pulling a move that's enticing enough to at least give Jason pause to consider it.
On the other hand, Jason has read a lot of Isaac Asimov, including the book The Gods Themselves, which deals with, hey, look, we found a way to tap into free energy from another universe. Woohoo! Until later on in the book, it turns out that means the other universe is losing energy and people are dying. So, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
For the record, I have never read that book or story. But also for the record, Jason, why don't you give me? We'll get into the dice here since we didn't have any last time. Why don't you give me a assess the situation? And I keep going to the wrong.
That'd be superior.
I keep going to the wrong computer, which is annoying. A hit, a very palpable hit. So, Charlotte, you were in a situation, if you were so inclined, to help him with this, because this is stuff that's occurring to Jason Genius Brain while he is, what the heck happened to my base? Oh, I moved him down here. While he's sort of debating this with you guys, and you know, I picture you as in a haze, with Jason kind of he's arguing, but at the same time trying to look like he's not arguing by casually leaning on Otto's hood, while Otto's interjecting random, various occasional comments. Charlotte,
there as well,
Charlotte's pacing around,
there.
and Adam's kind of like sort of hovering and listening and looking, I don't know, looking various versions of concerned versus.
I'd be kind of curious as to how Adam. Last I had heard, actually, Charlotte and I were still standing in the conference room, but if we
right, but this would have.
I'd be really curious to hear what Adam's sense about this whole thing is.
Once you start getting into
we're outside of the building now, so
once you start arguing the whole, get into the what could be going on and what might be happening. You're like, let's get out of the room that may or may not be bugged.
Yeah.
And get out next to Otto and Adam, people that might fiddle with that. So you got if Charlotte or Adam is willing to kind of throw in a point of team, which is a wash because I got to put a point in there anyway, then you guys can get up to a 10 on the assess the situation. That gives you a couple questions to ask about that stuff that may or may not be.
Well, I'll definitely throw in my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, giving him somebody to argue with.
I'll give him the Retrovia. Didn't seem to have the same issue.
Yeah. That's an excellent point in the variability of it.
Not out in public, but I'll say something like, I may have a way of looking into this.
True. So Jason, what have you got there for questions? How could we best end this quickly?
Well, actually, that's probably one question that I feel obliged to ask. So how can we best end this quickly? And
The easiest way, let me answer that question first. The easiest way is now that's actually almost the obvious question, because the obvious thing is close up the wounds. And to a greater or lesser degree, certainly the Magus, for whatever he doesn't have the best reps, certainly, but for whatever reason, he seemed to strongly imply that was the reason for Charlotte. Now, you're certainly not so callous as the Magus is to think that that's the only reason for Charlotte. She's a person. But certainly closing these things seems to have been strongly implied that that was what she was, like what he was hoping for from her, to put it less crudely, rather than saying that's what she's for. But closing those things up, ignoring all the other varieties of, what benefits would be lost, what great hopes, blah, blah, blah. Closing these things up simplifies the world equation considerably. And it begs the question, it's like, this is what they're doing right now, but what were the wounds? What were the wounds for originally? One presumes that the Magus in the middle of a fight was not creating these things to create a bunch of areas around upon which he could establish gambling establishments where he could then win at craps, and then create a thing that he hopes would close them. So that doesn't really follow. That's apparently...
Except you'd never win at craps, because the odds are always slightly in the house favor.
Right, okay, craps is a bad example, but you know what I mean? He's not doing that. So either this is an unintended side effect, or it's not or it wasn't him that was doing this part of it. So what are the wounds themselves originally for? Because they don't, at least in the case of Charlotte's area, did not seem to be unintentional.
So is that a question then that I can ask, which is sort of what's the purpose? What's the purpose of all this? Or do I have to frame it in terms of one of those questions that's on the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Framing it, for the purposes of genre.
What here can I use this like the Magus wanted to use it? That's probably not a question I would ask.
No, that's interesting though, because we can come at it from a certain direction, because you can come at it from this. So the first answer is close the things down. Second thing is, well, then what the hell were these things for in the first place? That helps me at least understand them. You're not sure that you can necessarily answer this, but it can strongly indicate that the whatever these things were originally for, or the reason for their creation, is not the Magus's, because he went about at some length to hopefully create a thing that would make them go away. So it wasn't him. It was Dr. Infinity? Question mark? So that doesn't necessarily directly answer that, how can these things, how are these things meant to intentionally be used? That goes back to
how were they created?
Why were they created, or by whom?
I always kind of had the impression they were more like, shell craters in the middle of a battlefield.
Right.
As opposed to something that somebody was intentionally building up to do something with.
So I'm just going to narrate some wandering around as you guys are doing this. It's a couple blocks away from the cemetery, but you don't even need to be over there. You're replaying. The place where Charlotte was created was a different spot on the hill than where the actual dead spot is. That was a different thing. Based on his commentary, the Magus did that, presumably, or at least implied purpose, to counteract this other thing. And either he was very conscientiously creating a cleanup crew for the existential dimensional damage that he was doing during a fight, which follows literally no patterns that you've ever observed in his previous behavior, which is, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and screw all y'all. Or this is a direct counter to this other thing. Now, again, go back to video footage, what have you, try to figure out, like, if they're ever captured on fights, find a dead spot, look at the video, figure out whose blast or whose effect or whatever created, hit that area, and you probably narrowed it down. But it would seem that he was doing a thing that was counteracting to this, which would then go back to, well, if that's the case, then these wounds were done by Dr. Infinity, and if that's the case, then why?
Right.
And if the question is why, well then, previous behavior indicates future behavior. What does Dr. Infinity do? Screws with Halcyon City because Halcyon City screws with the timeline. So how does this hurt Halcyon City? Who knows? And certainly not just Halcyon City, because the things are presumably all over the place. But certainly the Magus thing seems to be, at least, he's not so much evil as he is just kind of like selfish. At least, but he's sort of really selfish, so that kind of balances out. Dr. Infinity...
Do some sort of analysis on where these things all happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Which... Yeah,
I can help with that.
Get a globe, get a video. That at least gives you, because there's actually in a lot of those places, like, people have, like, after they find the videos and stuff, start recording like GPS coordinates for those things. Because you got people who go to these sites and go, well, I'm standing right where the blast hit, and here's what's going on. And there's you haven't delved too far into those conspiracy sites, but that sort of thing. What here is the biggest threat? What here is in the greatest danger? Who here is most vulnerable to me? You suddenly turn and leap at Otto. No. You got a third question though.
I do?
Yeah, you get 3. You get 3 for 10 on this particular question.
No, I get
Oh, you get 2.
2.
Oh, you get 2. I'm sorry. What's just the ones that give you 3? Some of them give you 3. I was confused.
I'll take another question. But...
I think I've given you another one sometimes because you use dark visions, but
yeah. Well, I'm not triggering any more doom checks.
I will give you a freebie though from your observation, because your various peregrinations of the mind while you're thinking about all this stuff has you thinking about that Asimov thing, because you're not trying to argue. And I don't know. I mean, Leo would have to say if Otto's ever read that, but there's a point at which it's like, I'm not trying to argue that there's not a potential downside. I mean, I've read Asimov's blah 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 blah, obviously, and looking around at your 3 companions, going, anybody? Like, because that's not likely going to be something that Adam would have grabbed, or Charlotte, and probably not Otto.
Well, it's not
unless
even
Leo
one of
read it.
His more famous works. So
right, yeah. So you're pretty on the outside there. But here's the thought that occurs to you. If you're getting nothing but winning rolls, where are the losing rolls going? Which would never have been what you would have thought of until you saw the sort of personification of a lack of potential, like embodied, instantiated in an entire universe. Like, all of the options being reduced down so narrowly makes you think of
and
like
then rounded down.
And then rounded down, like
a trunk function.
Yeah. In this case, it's the thought you can sort of picture each one of these holes as kind of like the swirling water going out of the bottom of a sink, where all of the bad crap is draining out the bottom because you've already, skimmed all the cream. Which means, and that conjures up all kinds of horrible imagery of like, look, we have a perfect success rate for every medical procedures that we do in this area, and everybody anywhere within like a 300-mile radius on the other side is inexplicably dying. Because it's got to even out somewhere. The statistician lectures from your father. Eventually, the dice always.
If God doesn't play with dice, but if he does, he makes sure all averages out properly.
Yeah.
In the big picture.
Yes. If you roll the dice long enough, they will always come out with an even distribution. Eventually, somewhere. So, yeah. And yeah, there's a whole tipping point thing there. a sense of a seesaw would eventually become unbalanced. And the thing is, even if nobody knows this is happening, it's still going to be unintentionally taken. Like, it's still going to happen. Little tiny things like somebody in that apartment complex drops a piece of toast and it lands butter side up.
Did the bird shit on your windshield or just next to the car?
Right. All of that stuff is obviously a much lower key drain or
So the
imbalancing.
bird always sits on your window in the sepia bird.
In theory, but that's you putting all this stuff together going, okay, we're talking about what might be happening here, where are the downsides. That goes to Asimov, that goes to this, and like, well, crap, if I'm even like in the zip code of right, that sucks.
Everybody does really well on their on their video games that are locally hosted on their machine, but they still have average luck when they're playing,
Yeah.
things that are server based.
Yeah. Or they don't, which is even more terrifying because that means it's like
It's
funneling
sympathetic
down.
over to
Yeah.
the servers.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah.
Okay.
And you know there's got to be a Rook person somewhere who's renting an apartment in there right now. There has to be.
Yeah. Already, yeah.
Footnote, which little paranoid voice in the back of your head, I'm not going to say it sounds like Alycia, but why not, and how many students at Gardner are on their payroll? The reason Rook got that contract for the school is because they get contracts for stuff. They do all kinds of stuff like this.
Sure.
They're everywhere. All right. So given that there's probably a couple hours left, Adam, what are you doing with yourself? Are you scooting back home for a bit? Or what are you doing? And
I think I'm after Adam's talk with Otto, I think he's probably just like just like following along with the herd at the moment.
I was going to say, how much of this is Adam really tracking given the advice that Otto the truth bombs that Otto dropped on his head? Not so much truth bombs, but just like a lot to think about.
45%?
Which is basically, hey, wounds in the universe potentially bad, which honestly, that sentence pretty much sounds logical even without knowing any context whatsoever. Yes, wounds in the universe are
Which is what I
probably...
told Jason in the first place.
Yeah. Got it. When do we close them?
Jason had to use... Jason was like, yes, I know. No, yes. Probably that's very true. But first we need to use math so we can determine how bad.
Out, okay? Yeah.
I need to see how I need to use calipers to determine how bad the wounds actually are. Anyway. So you're following along with the herd and they seem to be kind of splitting up. So what do you do? Call Leo? Go home?
No, that's an in-person thing. And we're all gonna meet up anyway.
That's true.
I think right now, like Adam is really just like, he's there, but he's not there.
Okay.
Like if somebody asked him a question, he'd be like, what?
What was
Explain that again?
Sorry?
Say that again? Yeah.
If Adam wants to come over early and hang at my place, that's cool. I'm kind of, I guess Jason's probably distracted with now all of this stuff and thinking about stuff for the evening, but
yeah,
he at least wants to pay some attention to Adam, and he's clearly kind of still a bit
preoccupied. So you guys can both go to the Quill compound and be preoccupied together, if that's
just don't say anything that sounds halfway like hey, do this.
Yeah. Because you'll do it without thinking about it, or because you have PTSD flashbacks?
Depends on the ask.
That's fair. You ask if he wants chips and he just breaks down. Soul never understood chips.
Whoa.
harsh.
Well, I'm just saying you might not have. I'm just trying to think of what the flashbacks would be like. Anyway, Harry, um, visiting the hospital after school. Requisite drop by. I didn't hear what you
Oh.
said. Repeat.
Yes.
Okay. How do you refer to your grandmother? Is it grandmother? Is it grandma? Is it Granny Swift?
Uh,
Martha?
grandma.
Grandma? All right. She's the one that's hanging out there with your dad when you get in there. And doesn't really get up to make any room or anything like that when you come in. She motions to another seat kind of on the other side. What is your normal check-in? I mean, you drop in to visit somebody in a hospital who's like out of it like this. You probably have a sort of a standard thing that you do probably or something. What is that when the family's watching? When they're not watching, I'm just assuming you're throwing pretzels at his head. Joke.
Going over to dad, kind of solemnly at him, maybe placing a hand on his shoulder.
The doctors say he's physically fairly well recovered. There was a lot of, they call it strange energy exposure, which is about as useless as you might imagine. But physically, he seems to be fine. He's just not waking up.
I nod.
Once
He's
you
ashamed to meet your eyes, Harry.
once
He's ashamed to meet your eyes.
he's in a coma, dude. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but you know, it's probably not shame keeping him closed at this point. Once you get like sort of after that's done, do you just sit down next to her? Do you chat? Like, what's that? What do you do? Well, I gotta go. Nice to see you,
Nah,
Granny.
I kind of keep my space.
So sit down, but like on the other side of the room, or like lean up against the wall, or she had
Lean
the
up against the wall.
she had the TV on like, but with the volume off, and is just kind of like, I don't know. It's on like I don't know, golf. Okay. How are you and your friends doing?
You know, tough time.
Yeah.
Some of them more than others, but holding in there.
I haven't heard
Went
very.
back to.
I haven't heard very much about them in the news. You had some injuries as well. Your team
We had
did?
some injuries, and one of our members went through a really and has needed some time to recover from that.
Do you, oh, I can't remember. Crap, I need to look a thing up real quick. I've been thinking about that and your situation right now with your team, and where do you maybe things have changed since I was in the game, but do you have some sort of base or anything?
We've been coordinating ourselves out of Quill Towers.
Brian Quill's boy? Is he? Oh, he's part of this, I suppose. So you're just eating chips in his basement?
A bit higher than a basement, but the tower to kind of coordinate and work together and develop our skills as a team.
There's a practice field or something over there? What sort of skills are you? Well, never mind. Never mind.
Granny's gonna push your buttons.
No, she's. Well, here's.
Fine.
I don't know if this is any use at all, but you and your friends seem to be doing pretty well by everything that you've been tasked with and has been thrown at you in a very short time. It reminds me a lot of well, things were different. I mean, I couldn't even break the speed barrier, and I was one of the most powerful supers around at the time when I was back in the game. But you know, when we were first coming together, and the whole idea of teams was really new back then. When we first formed the society, it was really important to have a place that was just for us, and it wasn't anything else. I mean, Dr. Mysterio had his Sanctum Sanctorum and that sort of thing, but we had our own. We had a couple by the end of it. Of course, we went on for years and years. If you and there, nobody's really using any of those. Well, there's a few, I suppose, that are still in use, but most of them are gathering dust. If you and your friends decide that you need a place that's just nothing else but for you, let me know. Most of my friends are gone now. Harry and turns out I've been left a pretty significant ring of keys, and some of those keys might be of use to you and your friends. Maybe grab an old SOS base and turn the lights back on. Offers out there if you want to take advantage of it. I think your father would appreciate it. He always loved digging around, and even when he was little and before he got in the game, he used to love days when I brought him in and he got to explore through the caves. And well, the caves wouldn't really be appropriate. That's too far from here. But just a thought. There's a lot that's out there that's going to waste that you and your friends might be able to make use of. Just an opportunity if you like.
Thank you.
Not at all. For the wiki, that's Grandma Swift, one of the last surviving members of the Society of Superheroes, or as they always refer to themselves, the SOS. Which embarrassingly took me an embarrassingly long time to remember, and I actually had to pull up a document so I could remember what the hell the acronym was. I knew it was SOS, but I couldn't remember what the hell or why. Because I needed something suitably golden age. Anyway, so you guys kind of sit in silence. She's not. She goes, I could tell you stories about them, but honestly, I've told you all the ones that are fit for a child's ears, and you're not quite old enough for the other ones yet. So I think you're just going to have to settle for some comfortable silence, or how about we go get some coffee? Do you drink coffee? Or is it soda pop?
Coffee.
All right. Well, I don't think your father's going anywhere, which may be the only time in his life I've been able to say that. So we'll go down there, and you spend probably like an hour just sort of visiting with your grandma about various stuff. She can't tell you much about the current crop of superheroes, but she tells you lots of stories about their parents. So, or whoever they, you know, he wasn't any relation to them, but that's definitely so-and-so's armor, you know, remodeled, of course, but it's definitely derivative off of that sort of thing. Anyway. So that kind of thing. Link was coming off of lacrosse, and we had a couple of little scenes about that. Is there anything, you had the conversation kind of with Stingray there sort of afterwards, and is there anything else that you want to do or calls that you wanted to put in or anything like that? You do have a text waiting for you on your phone saying, we got approval for a pizza party tonight from Waters, indicating that Alicia's in for a drive-by or whatever later.
Drive-by. That's
well, okay, drive-by probably not what I was looking for, but a visitation also that doesn't sound any better, honestly.
that's fair. So when we last left Leo, he was sitting on the bleachers at the field,
right,
in pain. He has two ways to get home, which is either take the bus or wait for Otto. So he's going to wait for Otto.
So you probably got, and Otto will make, once you guys are up in the cemetery, Otto's not going to be I mean, he could be up there, but he's not going to be walking around in the cemetery as a giant robot anyway, really. And also, you know, Jason's got the quill disc there. If
I don't have the quill disc there, but I can probably summon it to me.
Okay. That's fair.
Just sitting back at the school still.
Oh, that's right. I see Road Auto over there. Well, one way or the other, you guys can get around, certainly.
Yeah.
Well, I can certainly take him someplace.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Jason's somewhat more sanguine about that one since he's been in your head.
So the long and the short of it is, next stop will be the Quill Foundation compound.
Okay. So, do you? I mean, while you're waiting for Otto to get over there, you just like shower up at the gym or that kind of thing, or do you?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
do all that stuff. You do have other texts coming in. Taz is texting to see whether or not you got the notes from chemistry today. Numa. Sorry, Aria's well, what would she have been doing while you were doing lacrosse? Because she's not going to head straight over to Jason's. Actually, it makes sense to me that she probably did. She hang out at the school and just did homework in the library until you were done with the practice.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
It seems, because going all the way back to the Gales place is silly, especially without Otto, and much easier for her to just to hang out and get that done.
I kind of pictured one or both of them having their own after-school activities or clubs, so they might have been doing something like that too. So.
Yeah. Well, there's some checking up on that and that sort of thing. Summer's probably going to meet back up with her roommate, whose details we still need to nail down. So I don't know if she was actually going to hang around for very long, but she'll still be back over at the compound later. But she needed to go and make sure she had coverage at the coffee shop. She only has to be there for about an hour and a half today on the schedule because it's like a school day and they know to clear things off for that. But she needed to kind of get a roommate to cover for her or something like that. So that was probably what was going on there. Okay, so yeah, you get cleaned up, and when you come out of the locker room, areas there, and you know, my homework's done. How about you?
Chemistry is not a problem for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's mostly I skimmed it for review. The the language arts is interesting reading though. Wasn't things I've read before, so I suppose new to both of us. Is Otto on the way?
Yeah.
He said Jason and Charlotte spent a half an hour arguing paraphysics outside of the cemetery. We miss all the fun stuff.
Oh yeah, that's
she was being sarcastic when she said it.
yeah. I don't know. This feels really high flown for me. I come to school just to get away from this stuff.
Oh, all of their whatever. Was this did he mention he mentioned that this was after the Rook thing? So I guess he had the meeting with Rook and then I guess argued with Charlotte for half an hour. I don't know what that's about. That's
Nobody knows what Jason argues about. I've stopped keeping track.
I agree and understand up to a point, but it's a little bit troublesome that he talks to Rosa Rook for 20 minutes and then ends up arguing with the teammate for longer than that, which sounds like a very Rosa Rook kind of effect. That's the only thing that bothers me about it. So one more. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I said she was just going to say. So one more thing to worry about.
We'll find out when we get there. You know, Jason and just anything Jason. He's gonna. I don't know about that guy.
Sure you do.
I know about that guy, which is why I want to pretend like I don't know about that guy.
And you're a little bit sore. It's actually, you're a little bit sore, which I understand. I don't have Advil on me. Do you want to stop someplace and grab some?
I got some in my backpack. I'm fine. Thank
All right.
you.
I just want to say thank you for the fact that I don't need that. At least I don't think I do. I've never pulled a muscle. Well, no, that's not. I suppose that's not true. Never pulled it in the way that you're dealing with. So what is it mostly? Sore muscles or bruises?
Right now, it's the sore muscles.
All right. She's going to set you down on a bench outside of the school. One of the bits of hostile architecture they have out there for people to theoretically sit on that nobody can skateboard on the edges of or actually comfortably lay down on. And kind of get on the back of the bench, sort of. So she's sitting behind you and then like just rub your shoulders, girlfriend stuff. High school girlfriend stuff. Until Otto rolls up.
Otto, go away. Don't.
Seriously? First of all, public displays of affection make other people uncomfortable. And secondly, I hurried over. And
I'm sorry, I'll get up.
I'll turn the heater on in the seat. It'll be fine. That'll probably be good for you.
That would be nice.
Do you need I have SpongeBob or My Little Pony Band-Aids? Did Diddums hurt his knee?
My Little Pony.
I like how you just let the Diddums hurt his knee go right past you.
Well, if he's gonna be sarcastic, I'll just roll with it. I mean, come on.
This is no fun when you just let me pick on you. God.
I've learned the only defense against sarcasm is more sarcasm.
That's fair. All right. So, come around 6:15, 6:30, people start sort of drifting in over at the compound. Summer's probably one of the first ones over there. Jason and Ghost Girl and Adam. Then Summer. I'd say probably Harry. Where are you like tailing at the end? How long does the conversation with Grandma go? Do you let it go?
She ends up launching into another story before I can stop her, so
About a person, a place, or a thing?
About a person.
Okay, so I have to. Uh, oh. Unless you have somebody in mind, I have somebody in mind.
You can go on ahead.
Bill, what was the name of that superhero that Costigan used to be?
I don't think we ever gave him a name.
Did we not? I thought we did. I thought you did. Jeez.
Like he was basically pitched as this world's like an America type super soldier who went into a desk job instead of continuing to be a hero. So I'll look for it.
Yeah.
But she could probably just call him Craig from familiarity.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, she tells a story about now this. So yeah, what Bill's saying here, pretty sort of a Sergeant Rock, Captain Flag. I think you're right. I don't think there's a picture of him in a suit, in costume that 37 recognizes. But you're right. I don't know that you did put a name on it exactly. But it would definitely be one of those golden age kind of super soldier types. Major Force, Captain Flag. I feel like all of those had to have been used at some point in time. I'm very unlikely going to.
It is difficult to mine that territory without coming across some name that some comic book company somewhere used during the middle of the war.
Sergeant Stronghold. We're going to go with that for now. And it might have been simplified to Stronghold after the war. And she's telling a story about this and sort of this whole craziness and how this is a story about how like they lost one of their the first time the team lost somebody. This is the story that she's telling. First time the team lost somebody, and kind of the decisions that left up to that, and the fact that Sergeant Stronghold had sort of given the order and hold without maybe nobody was ever really sure whether he realized that saying you need to hold this position meant that he knew that this person was probably not going to come back, or if he didn't know and he didn't realize what he had been asking the person to do until after the fact, and then he was saddled with it after the fact, not fully understanding the situation and blaming himself for not fully understanding it. And I don't know that Craig ever really I don't know that he was ever really the same after that. He did the work for a long time after that. He's technically still doing the work, I guess, with that with what he's doing now. He's a shadow. He's a shadow, honestly, in your background with your team now. And you realize she's talking about the director of the Aegis director, Craig Costigan. But I guess I don't even really know where I was going with that story. It's just don't feel as though it's the first time that you're the first team that's ever gone through this. We all do make choices that are hard or that we regret afterwards. That isn't to say it's not important. It's not to say it doesn't matter, but it does maybe help to remember that there's other people out there who might be able to give you a little bit of advice on it. Because we've all had hard times. Your uncle, your dad, your mom, and even little Granny Swift, she says, kind of, shaking her hand like it's unfirm, which it absolutely is not. But so that's her little story. All right, you clearly need someplace you need to be, and politeness is keeping you here listening to your grandmother, so you should leave and go and give me a hug.
hug.
All right. She's short. It's awkward, but that's how grandma hugs work. So, anyway, how long has it been since you've seen your grandmother actually use any abilities? You've seen like old black and white film footage, and you've heard stories, and you think you remember kind of when you were a kid. But is it still an ongoing thing, or is it she just doesn't do it anymore, or can't do it anymore? Or what's the deal there? Or does she do it every day, and that's how she makes her tea?
Her use her speed. I think I asked her about it once, and she said, "To be my age, you learn to appreciate life at the speed it is."
Ah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's really good. That reminds me of a little thing I saw today where it's like when you're a kid, you eat terrible, super sugary breakfast cereal because you figure you're going to live forever, and there's nothing that you can do will change that. And when you get and when you're older, you eat terrible sugary cereal because you realize that you're not, and there's nothing you can do to change that. Seems a very grandma-like thing, or grandma Swift thing. All right, so you guys all pile in. Before Alycia shows up, does anybody want to accomplish stuff?
Leo's got something that needs to talk to Jason about.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
Carrying industrial-sized bags of chips.
So, Harry has a Costco card, and he is not afraid to use it.
50-gallon drums.
All right, so let's do Leo and Jason then. Is it just Leo and Jason?
So he'll probably have the girls along because they're have expressed interest in the merge process as well, and he wants to talk about that real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where are you guys going to do this? You're just going to like lay them out?
Remember the place is designed like by no normal architect, so there's conference rooms and so forth hanging off the kitchen.
Well, there's a computer. Yeah, there's a dedicated science lab. There's a dedicated biology lab. There's a dedicated computer lab
for the actual science
thing.
bits.
Yeah.
I mean, we can find one of the computer rooms. It might even be the room where we ended up, kind of
working on Summer's
working on Summer and Summer stuff.
That works. Okay, so go.
Well, I need to make sure that we get the machinery hooked up with this nanotech that you've got, and that's fine. We can work the specifics of that, but I think that you're going to have to do the wiring on that, and I think you already know that, right?
Sure.
Okay, so there's something important that I need to tell you about that. Aria and I had a fight recently, and she said something important to me during that fight, and that's good because when you have an argument like that, sometimes truth comes out you wouldn't have otherwise heard. What she said was, you need to stop running away from being the smart guy just because your father was, and I think that's important for you to hear too. This everyday like Jason shit that you have going on, like any other day that'd be cool. But right now, like this heritage you have, I think you need to embrace it. I think you need to be okay with it, and I think you need to like not be your dad, but be what your dad tried to be. With your dad out of the picture, you are the guy in charge of this shit.
No, you're absolutely right.
Hey, Link. Roll comfort and support for me, please. It may not matter. Oh my God. I do a few things, I do them very well, and then I move on.
We have the big starburst behind Jason saying yes.
Now the thing is, you don't actually need to have a condition cleared.
No, I don't.
When you comfort or support someone, roll mundane. On a hit, they hear you. They mark potential, clear a condition, or shift labels if they open up to you. So that's out there on the ground for you to, Jason, for you to pick up. And also on a template, you can also add Tim to the pool, link, or clear a condition yourself if you have.
I'm adding Team to the pool.
All right. I will note that accordingly.
Let's
and
see,
Jason,
which the hell?
well, you got to first. How do you respond to this in a way? Now, knowing that Summer and Ari are both there,
Yeah.
what does that look like in terms of your response?
I you know, you're right, and I've been really worried about this, but I've also been trying to really just kind of, this is the right thing to do. I trust what you've put together here, and we can make this work. So yeah, you know, and he kind of looks over at the girls. Sorry, I've been kind of like all goofed up today, and I apologize if that was at all embarrassing or anything, because it was mostly embarrassing to me, but I don't want to be embarrassing to you guys by association. But I'm glad you're here. I'm actually really glad you guys are here, because you should be here for this. And I'm not gonna be a goofball about this. But you're right. I mean, a lot of what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do and what I plan on doing is around doing what my dad should have done, and being what my dad should have been. And this is the stuff that I need to do to make that happen. So I'm here, I'm in.
I like that you have a plan, says Summer. I like it a lot. I think it's good. And she's not being, as near as you can tell, facetious about that at all or anything. So, for whatever that's worth.
Thank you.
Of course.
So, Jason, you were never a cartoon character. What you are is the get shit done action scientist that cartoon was celebrating. So go be that guy.
I never watched that cartoon, but I will take that message forward. Thank you.
I gotta throw Link a little bit under the bus on this one, because just a little bit, because Aria will kind of come over with her hands kind of folded behind her back and lean in just a little bit as you're heading out the room, and he goes, "He did." Kind of, when you look at her, kind of inclines his head in Link's direction.
I'm sorry, what? She said what?
He did.
You watch the cartoons.
Right.
I just don't know if you ever knew that. But he did all the time.
That's okay. That's good to know.
She kind of waggles her eyebrows at, like, take of that what meaning you will, take from that whatever meaning you will. But she apparently thinks it's something that you should know going into this, since you weren't apparently hearing the action scientist thing. If you don't believe it, maybe he does. That's not what she's saying, but that's, in there somewhere. Alycia shows up. Probably. Now, did you guys, Jason, I don't know if you were going to broach this whole thing more without everybody, because last time you guys were talking about this, Alycia was in the room the Aegis guys were in the room. Are you going to discuss the super genius elephant in the room before she gets here or not?
What tonight's plans are?
Well,
or
that or
we're talking about Alycia.
or Alycia. Take your pick. Maybe talk about Alycia before you're potentially a drooling vegetable.
Yeah, we should. Well, we should.
I know you trust Link, but
I guess if everybody's there before Alicia's gotten there, I'll try to.
yeah, they are.
I'm sorry.
They are.
And so, can we talk about Alycia, or do we want to wait until Alicia's here? And I'm good either way, but if people have something they want to get out before then, I'm good with that too. Or Leo, you're in charge of field operations, I'm told.
It just means I'm in front when people punch stuff.
Is that what that
Okay.
means?
That's exactly what that means.
Huh.
If that's not what that means, as at least what happens.
So I don't know
So,
if anybody has
Does
questions.
anybody have
comments?
anything they want to say about Alycia before Alycia gets here, or?
Leo will chime in at this if you say that. He's like, I think you've talked anyone can talk about Alycia. Like, what is there left to say that you haven't said?
Well, yeah, but that's me talking. So, if everybody else wants to talk, I like I said, this is this whole thing about Alycia is this is something that I don't want to be the one forcing this in.
Well, I mean, this is Summer. She hasn't done anything to me, certainly, but anybody? Well, okay, except for Harry. Harry? Are you?
I mean, I talk with her after the battle. Think she's a bad person. She gave herself. She helped at the battle. She hasn't Jason yet.
Your mic is dropping really critical verbs, and my brain is filling in those verbs with some wonderful substitutes. So,
Oh, okay, sorry.
no, it's fine because it's delightful. She hasn't blanked Jason yet, and it's like it could be like 6 things. It's awesome. Anyway, I mean, if nobody's really, got too many concerns, we can just get her here.
I just think this is the team for like unstable, smart people, so she'll fit in fine.
Well, there is that.
Speak for yourself, darling. I'm only physically unstable.
I didn't qualify it.
Otto's on like the big screen like FaceTime thing from the garage going, "Hey, who are you calling smart?"
Suck it up. You're better than you think.
All right, so so when Alycia comes in, they ring they sort of like buzz in at the front lobby and stuff. Like Jason, do you rush down and get them in the rest of the way, or how's that?
I won't rush. I will walk with deliberate haste.
It's actually not Waters. It's just well, I shouldn't say just. It's
It's never just.
it's Special Agent Parker, 2 escort agents, and Alycia. And you guys get down there, and she's like, well, we've gotten approval for the rest of the evening, essentially, up until curfew. we'll be by around 10:30, Mr. Quill. She looks at Alycia. Do you have cash if the kids decide to go out for ice cream? I don't want you to have to mooch off of anybody.
I think we got her covered.
She was being like sort of Alycia kind of, I don't know, would Alycia do the mom like that joke?
Yeah, she would.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, there's a bit of a humorless smirk on Parker's face from that, and then they sort of make their she sort of taps her forehead, and they head out without any real preamble or anything like that. She's both like and unlike Waters in a lot of interesting ways in her whole approach to this thing. Maybe that's all because it's early days, who knows. So anyway, so
Hey,
so we're doing this.
Yeah. Come on up. Hey, you can use the front entrance and the main elevator and everything.
Right. So you figured out about that other thing? The last little visit?
Yeah.
Oh, you say yeah like I know. I didn't.
Well. Yeah, interesting story there. I'll have to tell you about it.
She has a smirk like she might be able to guess what some of that story is, but how's Eddie?
He's great. Kid's healthy.
Is he still on maternity leave? He's still on maternity leave, isn't he? He better be.
Well, yeah. But we asked, checked up on him and
sure.
Sent flowers and a gift basket and stuff like that.
You should send they've got these. Well, you never mind. I don't want you to steal my move. I've got something I want to send over.
Okay.
So
cool.
Who's here? Is it just you and Leonard?
No, it's Leo.
Leo. Okay.
He I don't know that anybody's called him Leonard before, but I don't know that he. Anyway, Leo.
Okay. All right. We didn't really talk about names before. Is it just you two or like what?
No, it's the whole rest of the team.
Oh. Okay.
Because one of the things is we do want to talk with you about kind of the team and stuff like that.
Cool. Are we doing that first or are we doing
actually
the virtual brain surgery thing first? Because honestly, I'm a little like I'm kind of looking forward to the brain surgery now.
Well, maybe we should do that first because
yeah, like when
in case
when
something weird, yeah,
when they film like movies where they where the two main characters like have a really awkward like intimacy scene, they usually film that like the first day before they get to know each other, and then they can just be like a couple of strangers doing this thing otherwise it's somebody that and it gets really weird. I don't know where I was going with that. That's actually a super terrible analogy, so just forget I said it.
Okay.
Oh look, the elevator doors are opening. This is great.
We should go in the elevator then, because after you.
I gotta see what Mike just posted up here. Oh, good. The whole team's here. Oh, it's really good. Oh, good. And you killed Dave.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that'll go in the journal.
All right. That's perfect. All right.
We were done with him anyway. Alicia's a self-sustaining entity now.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, the elevator. It's like 3 floors, so you're pretty much there instantly. Okay.
Ding!
So.
The doors open.
Uh, okay. All right. Uh.
Everybody, Alycia Chin. Most of you actually been in class with her. Charlotte, Alycia Chin.
We met. We totally like.
Oh, right. Back, yeah, over, yeah, in the, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love how you like did the incredibly terrifying thing with the total like massive army of ghosts. That was. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but it sounded terrifying and awesome. So uh, that's great.
It was timely.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, that talk about a problem solver. I mean, that was really great. I actually heard a thing at the party about. Well, you know what? I'll ask you about it later. Um, maybe, assuming I survive this, which I'm sure I will, because,
What could possibly go wrong?
oh God,
I
seriously.
have a list.
I say that ironically, guys. I know. You never say that,
With-
so I'm saying it so that it's out of the way and we don't have to say it again.
But the split second pause before Link says, "I have a list." I want to make sure that nobody steps on that line because it was perfect. I have a list. And both Area and Summer both kind of do the bridge of the nose pinch. Just like right then.
Come on, guys. I know it was said ironically.
Okay. All right. So should we do that? Should we do this thing and see what we can do? How this works? Put Humpty Dumpty back together again? She kind of reaches over and taps on the top of Jason's head with a knuckle.
I'm good with that. I've been good with that I've been like thinking about this for like the last week or however long since we got back from and so I'm kind of ready to do that, but there's sodas in the fridge, everyone, and Harry brought over that monstrous bag of chips. So
So Link's going to be involved in this, obviously. Is anybody else like kind of hanging out and watching this whole process out of morbid curiosity or?
This is a really weird thing, guys, and I don't know exactly a metaphor to use for it. You're all my friends, and you are welcome to either be in the delivery room or be standing out in the lobby eating chips and chain smoking cigarettes, however you feel comfortable. I'm.
Is your superpower actually making things weird? Because wow.
We're talking about weird memory things and brain recoding. So I don't know how I can make it any less weird, any more weird than that.
Well, you gave it a good college try there, Quill. So, well done you. All right, so Leo, can you describe kind of what this whole thing? I mean, does it look like a battery charger with a bunch of diodes strapped to both of their heads and like a car battery charger, or what does this whole rig look like, and where's the best place for it to happen? Are they?
As it happens, I put some on the forums just for this eventuality.
Oh, cool. Where? Wait, have I seen this? I think I've seen this, if it's what I'm thinking of.
There's a link to the specific post. Minus the extraneous medical staff in this case.
Yeah. Heart Factory.
I really wanted to leave the particulars up to Dave but this was my suggestion for kind of how this goes.
This was the
so like Quill medical staff or that kind of thing, or do you want to just kind of shotgun it because you don't want
No,
the
there's no
know about it?
co-medical staff.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to shotgun it.
All right.
So basically, Summer's on the machine, and Leo will be handling the IV drip and monitoring blood pressure. Jason and Alycia will be conscious for this, so that will be exciting.
Yeah. You're going to want to make sure that any surgical type of equipment is well out of my reads. I've got certain muscle memory things that I just want to make sure they don't have.
There's not going to be any scalpels or anything like that involved. We're mediating the process through Jason's nanotech, so hopefully you won't see any of it.
Excellent. Sounds safe for me and everybody else.
All right. And if you want a lollipop, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, there's like a 5-pound bag of those that Harry grabbed from Costco. What is that? Okay, I've got to pull this over. I didn't look at the thing that you guys put over in Discord, but that is... Oh, is that Stingray? I like that.
That might be.
Might be Stingray. I think he probably has some wing type things under the arms, kind of a thing, so he can fly. Kid Kelvin.
I thought about that.
Oh, this is good. Is that your mom in the boots?
Uh-huh.
Nice. I love all these things. I love them all so much. Anyway, all right.
Yes.
They're just so great.
That's what making a random generator out of the entire character list will do for you. 94 entries.
We get all of the, oh my God, that's so great. It's just like, and then we get all these. Who's the dude with in the kind of the surgical suit though? Is that, or the doctor's, like the white jacket?
Well, Comet is a scientist, but
who is it?
Hardly.
Who is it though? In the white sort of medical coat.
With the lightning.
Is that lightning?
With the lightning. Is that? Who is it?
Comet.
Oh, okay. Sure. I like that. I like it's funny to me because the neutral expression on some people reads like I am unhappy with you. Some people are like I'm just standing there, and other people are like I'm very slightly smirking. And it just makes me happy to look at each one and try to figure out how I'm reading it. Except for your mom, who's clearly disapproving of somebody. I am not happy about.
That's like the resting. That's just the neutral unpleasant face.
That's just resting. That's just resting mom face. Except for of course Jordan, who has got the biggest, happiest grin on her face. Okay, so we will switch back over here, and we are going to do some rolling.
'Cause that's how we roll.
When your memories are remixed with someone else's via Newman Neurotech, TM, roll conditions.
Now, just
go ahead.
There were two different things involved here because there's the fixing the memories, but there was also the whatever's involved in my recoding my brain.
Goyce, you had talked about 3 steps, one of which was he takes the advance to confront the Doom, but then the second was he unleashes his powers or something like that.
He and Alycia, what was the second one?
He unleashes his powers or something along those lines to
unleash my powers to like.
Oh, right.
Take out those sloppy code that Dad put in.
Right. Yes. So you probably need to do that. That is right. I had forgotten what I had written down there. It's been a while. For some reason, we've been playing this for 3 sessions. Like we haven't actually.
Like if you look 5 posts up, you post from the link that I put in there.
Right.
On February 28th, those things.
Okay. Right. Face Doom on your own terms. Unleash your powers to recode the nans, possibly with help or some badness on a 6-.
Now on the hang on a sec. I can look at it myself.
Now it's also
I will okay, you excuse never mind.
So the thing here Because you're going to be rolling your conditions for the other thing, which doesn't matter.
The other thing, but the other thing, the first thing, if I'm unleashing my powers,
it's freak.
I still have, by the way, the result of that comfort and support thing.
Right.
So it's up to Leo as to what he actually. One of the choices would be to shift labels. So if Leo were to actually,
I don't think that is Leo's thing. Normally,
it is. On a hit, they hear you. They mark potential clear condition or shift labels if they open up to you. I guess I guess it is my choice.
It's your choice to make.
Yeah.
So I think it would be appropriate, since
you know what you got to do going in.
I can really be the smart, the super genius to like bump up my freak in this particular and circumstance.
Probably drop your mundane.
Well, no, I don't. Do I have to? Do I have to do
I guess it's a shift. It's a label shift. So yeah, you shift something.
Lower my
danger because you're privately contemplating coming off the street and not doing this anymore.
Yeah, kind of. I don't want to reduce my mundane because that doesn't make. Well, maybe it does make sense.
Well, I don't know. You're doing a lot of. I mean, it depends on what you got. How do you see yourself going forward here? You got to get better at your powers.
I'm going to up my freak and down my danger.
Yeah, you're coming off the street. You're going to kind of master your abilities, whatever they happen to be.
I'm going to be the power for good that Byron Quill should have been.
All right. So freak up. That at least gives you the 1 there.
Yep. So that will help.
Not that this is going to help with the way your dice have been rolling at critical moments. But
it'll just make it more dramatic when I roll a 3.
So I didn't know, is anybody else, oh God, I'm going to have to stick with this analogy because Dave opened the door. Is anybody else hanging out anywhere near the delivery room for this thing? With the nanites and stuff? Or just the whole shebang? Or is that...
I think that is kind of on standby for the inevitable malfunction.
Grabbing him and carrying him to the ER.
Adam, what are you doing throughout all this? Are you watching all of this with your Concorda vision, or what are you doing?
Yeah, Adam is probably just kind of like, well, if anything goes wrong, Saul did this once. Maybe I can do this.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say the team pool looks kind of dry right now. Anybody who wants to pitch in, like, go, feel free.
Well, yeah. I mean, the team's got 3. That should be enough to. I mean, the way Link's actual victory thing is written, there's not much point in throwing points in there. But Jason may need all the help he can get. Who knows? Maybe he'll roll great. Who knows?
Who knows?
Should
we find out?
Should we find out? So
sure.
let's start recoding that good old Byron Quill code.
I am going to unleash my powers and kind of suspend the extended operating system and start recoding those nanites to take out all of the poorly inserted non QA'd code that goes in and does things like, delete certain memories, inadvertently rounds in the wrong direction, corrupts buffers, things like that.
In the process of decommissioning one of my computers that I need to decommission here in fairly short order, I had to switch all of the drive syncing and backups and stuff like that over to a different machine, like put a different machine in charge of all that stuff, and then watch 25,000 files copy over and then resync all weekend. And then realized about halfway through that while this was happening, one of my other computers was doing some automated processes of when this thing drops into the directory, if it does not have an appropriate name, rename it and move it over here.
Ooh.
Which was fine because it was actually stuff I wanted to do, but it was tripling the number of resyncs that I had to do to get all this stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of like, make sure this is all shut down and not running before I try to fix it. Because otherwise it's just going to be continuing to do stuff while. Anyway, so let's see this unleash. How's your coding?
Let's find out.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Christ on a
Oh
bicycle
my.
made of nanobots.
If this was going to happen.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
The funniest thing is that Joyce, that we can recover from this.
Can we?
There's enough team plus hold that we could actually move this to a 7.
Explain to me the plus. Where's the plus hold coming from? Because I forgot about that.
Link, when he has shares a vulnerability or weakness, holds and can spend that hold as team.
Right.
So Leo plus Summer can spend that hold, and then if Adam and or Harry are supporting in some fashion, then they can spend 2 of the 3 team.
Let me narrate what's happening, and then we will go from there because I just figured out what was happening.
On him? What, my warm blanket doesn't count as a star?
You can do that too. I just really well, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't necessarily. So here's what's rolling. So Jason begins now. He basically, what's the hack? What does your hacking actually look like, Jason? Are you using a computer, or are you basically laying back and entering sort of the matrix of the nanobots mentally and doing that?
I'm laying back and entering the matrix of nanobots, pulling up so I can actually visualize code.
Sure.
The dad loaded in and see the patches that the patches that he put into the base code. And identify the ones that weren't actual fixes, but the ones that were all dated in a fairly short cluster, so to speak, before
right.
Before the nanobots went active. Because I mean, I know when he gave me the nanobots, and I can kind of chart it from there.
And you absolutely have the ability. You could. I mean, it's honestly not even that difficult to fix, but that is misleading. And you realize it's kind of like my thing, the minute you start to sync, you realize that you forgot this thing, kind of a deal, because you're just in the process of like sticking your finger into this mix and swiping stuff out of the code lines and commenting stuff out, and you're in all of your anxiousness and so forth. You missed apparently some tampering countermeasures, and they are really aggressive at defending themselves. Okay, so you guys are sort of, he lays back and he's like, and it's Alicia's just kind of standing there kind of watching it because you guys aren't really hooked up or anything. This is just the first step, and she's like, this isn't really. I mean, if this were a movie, the special effects would really, everyone would be complaining this is kind of boring looking. Right about then, the nanobots on his shirt just kind of like rear up and dive down into various data ports and connections and stuff like that throughout the room. The lights throughout the complex go into that emergency override, we've lost power, everything's red lights kind of thing. And you hear
the air conditioning cuts off, the doors slam closed.
The doors slam closed. You hear Byron Quill's voice say,
Jesus.
Intrusion, hostile intrusion detected, countermeasures deployed. And klaxon starts buzzing off and all of that kind of stuff. All of which Jason doesn't seem to really be aware of. He's got kind of a slight frown in the center of his forehead, and a little crease there in the between his eyebrows and concentration and stuff, but also every single muscle in his body is locked, like he's being, like his muscle is locked from like being electrocuted.
And just then Travelicia shows up.
Well,
I called them.
Byron, you scamp.
Everybody everybody kind of shows up. But yeah, there is a moment in there where Travelicia actually shows up in the room is like, that is not possible. I neutered that mother, and her mouth kind of like opens really wide and her voice disappears in like a modem squeal, and she kind of dissolves. And there's some whirring happening in the walls, some sort of like various you can only imagine various things happening up in there that are about to deployed. You hear some stuff clanking down a couple floors down, other stuff like that. What are people doing? And all of this, there's not going to necessarily be any roles involved. It's a question of we're coming up with various helping dice, and I'm probably going to have the last one be the hold that Link has that goes towards team, because we're going to get to 7 on this. What I want to know is, how are the people who are contributing team helping fight down the countermeasures and neutralize, not just fight down, but neutralize the countermeasures. And that's 3 of you. So Adam, Harry, Charlotte. Did I leave anybody? Adam, Harry, Charlotte, Link. Did I leave anybody out? Pretty much everybody's got to dive in on this, yeah?
Yep.
So who wants to go first?
I have a plan. I know what Adam will do.
Okay.
But it's going to be one of those things where I don't know if it's the first thing that will help.
Okay. I am most curious because of the nature of this, what Charlotte does. Because it's not as though she hasn't interacted with technology before, but I really want to know in which way what she does here. So I'm going to go to Charlotte first. Harry, you should be thinking furiously about what your deal is.
Well, I think it's sort of interesting because, response to incomprehensible technology is to possess it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel comfortable directly, possessing anything that's in the nanobots.
Right.
Be trying to go against, the countermeasures.
You'd be indirectly facing off against Jason in some way, shape, or form, really.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to be possessing the nanobots. That just doesn't sound like a good idea. But
no, but hilarious.
Countermeasures sounds like a better idea.
So
I'm going for the antibodies. I'm not going for the system that triggers the antibodies.
Not the actual organs, just the antibodies. So does that mean that you're going to kind of try to possess the systems that Byron Quill's ghost is on? I'm trying to put this in ways that Charlotte would most easily grasp. Somewhere in this system,
probably start with Travelicia, since she's the one that showed up, and
she actually looks like it looks like she got kind of melted a little bit, because she came back in and said there is no way I neutered while Byron Quill's voice is shouting about there being intrusions and stuff. She's protesting there's no way he should be able to do anything because I blah blah blah, and kind of dissolved.
I want to hear Alicia's reaction to this.
Well, that'll come up.
Okay.
You know where I'm going?
Where are you going?
To Ghost Rusty.
You think there's okay?
Well, I mean, there's a just like there's a CGI Bryant,
Okay. Byron, yeah.
Start there because he's best at defense and countermeasures.
Okay.
And he's a little bit more comprehensible than Dr. Quill.
From Charlotte's point of view. All right. So you sort of dive into this sort of feature. In a weird way, it's a lot like the spirit world. It's just featureless and white. And you go looking for Rusty and eventually find him. And he's like, hello, I don't think we've met. Who are you? And he's kind of like got his hand near his, like underneath one arm.
I'm Jason's friend, Charlotte.
All right. Can I help you
in
with
the
something,
sepia
Charlotte?
verse.
In the
Yes,
sepia verse.
Jason's in terrible trouble right now. He's trying to fix the nanobots, and they're attacking him. I need your help. I need you to help prevent that.
Well, all right. It's not really my area, but if there's something for me to punch, shoot, or wrestle to the ground, I'll do what I can.
I'm really designed for the simulated combat room. Jeez.
But I assume you know all of the built-in countermeasures in the Quill, in the Quill building.
Of course.
Well, the nanobots are triggering them.
I see.
That's what I need your help with.
Well, let's just take care of those little scamps. And he kind of wanders through a wall and does that. Harry, what you doing?
Furiously stuffing chips into his mouth.
I unplug everything in the entire complex simultaneously. Actually, that's not
Millions of microwaves hopping about to attack us.
Well, okay, maybe not. Maybe you don't prioritize the kitchen equipment. Although, I mean, Bluetooth-enabled stuff, it's basically just a botnet for...
And remember Voltron.
Internet of Things.
Remember Voltron.
Yeah, the food can attack you. That was the most terrifying thing. I'm so glad you guys have got a chance to watch Voltron now. Makes me so happy.
We're about
Season 3.
we just got to season 3.
Yeah. But there's a part in there later where Hunk says, yeah, oh yeah, remember when the food attacked us?
We hit that. That's why I mentioned it.
Well, I know, but there's a bit later where he's reminiscing about it. That was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And like,
yeah.
We fought Zarkon.
Zarkon, the food replicator attacking us.
We were inside of a beast that eats planets. Yeah, but man, food? Ugh. Anyway, all right. So Harry, what are you doing with your fine self while you're trying to, the building just went evil. What do you do?
Kind of create a perimeter. Keep the stuff from
because there's probably the place is actually deploying physical countermeasures as well, like floating gun bots and things like that, or they're about to, or something like that. So
are there people still around here, like office workers?
Not in this part of the building where Jason's sort of, the floors, I'm going to say below where Jason's at, are pretty much like not super active outside of business hours. So there wouldn't really be anybody in this main building.
So there isn't a worry about civilians.
There certainly could be. I mean, Jason, actually, you better to answer that main building. How do you see it at this time of night? It's like 6 o'clock at night, 6:30.
Oh God, there would be. There's probably actually a security guard down in the lobby.
For sure.
There's probably some security over, at various other entrance points to the building, and there might be some cleaning people.
Side of the compound.
Yeah, some cleaning people up in the office tower, but there wouldn't be anybody in this. There wouldn't be anybody in the residence area.
And I think the residence area I don't think that this thing like shut down the entire.
Yeah, as long as Dad doesn't trigger the drop the entire thing down 4 sub-levels because it's a nuclear attack sort of, trigger.
So,
but there could be a timer for that.
Yeah. Okay.
On keeping the pen systems away from Leo and the others so they can work at fixing this.
Okay. That sounds good. You're playing surprising no one defense. which is I was just listening to oh God, what was it? Episode 8, and you were doing a comfort and support on Charlotte, but you kept trying to talk me into letting you roll it as a defense roll because you were defending her from her inner demons.
Yep.
Because you really, really, really didn't want to have to roll mundane. So yeah, you go for defend, you go for savior. All right, so Adam, what's this look like? You had an idea. I want to hear it.
Yes, I did. So right now it seems like the nanites are really just sort of driving all of this at the moment.
They certainly they activated the biggest problem, and this is the thing we tied into a long time, is the part of his sanctum is that it's closely tied to his doom, and the AI and the code and all that kind of stuff is both interactive with and tied to the computer system in the Quill compound. So once that thing goes in there and triggers some safeguards, then that sort of has got all of that nonsense going on. So, but yeah, the nanites are definitely driving a lot of that. So what do you do?
Because mentally, like, I'm seeing like the nanite still whirling around the room.
Yes.
And that sort of craziness going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Adam just shouted over to Leo. It's just like, do we need all the nanites?
No.
Lasers.
Oh, like
scour the room.
I'm suddenly thinking of was it the story from a couple years ago about, was it Bill Gates or something was like funding this thing about like sterilizing or killing mosquitoes with lasers or something like that from a couple years ago. Just that's quite a laser show. That's pretty impressive. I like that. So you're just like wiping out as many. You're just taking the fight out of these things as much as you can.
I figure if we get rid of the bulk of them, that'll make it much easier for Rusty to like turn off the rest of them.
And there's actually like one of the holographic. It's not actually in this room. It's like one room over, and it's actually like a holographic Rusty arguing with like a holographic Byron Quill, gesturing angrily, waving his hands around, just red-faced. And I don't know that Jace would ever even remembered an argument like this between the two of them, but it certainly happened, and it's definitely happening now. So you can see this thing where like Byron is trying to concentrate on what he's supposed to be doing, but he's very seriously distracted by the fact that Rusty is there yelling at him and, clearly pointing in at Jason and pointing emphatically with like repeated like thrusts of the finger kind of thing. Like, that is your kid, this kind of thing. And this Rusty has not retired from protecting Jason as his primary duty. Which is why he was a little bit confused about like some of Charlotte's saying, I'm from the Sepiaverse. Like, I have no idea what that is. I'm a copy of Rusty from 2 years ago. I'm an idealized.
I went to Rusty because Rusty has that as his default.
Oh yeah. I am a idealized copy from my husband of Rusty from 2 years ago. So, but the idealized copy is also an argumentative Rusty because, idealized but not untrue. So yeah, that's
endearing.
Yeah, sure it is. Until he's the one shouting in your ear. Link or the girls or however this manifests.
Well, Link is going to try to keep the Heart Factory from getting infected because without that machinery, none of this is going to happen. But that's not really what matters. Summer has synced with Jason's nanobots once before.
Yes.
Under rather dubious circumstances. She will try to do so again on the grounds that really the nanobots are really just kind of an extension of Jason, and she's going to go try to get Jason back.
Okay. So Jason, you are. You will never be free of the guilt from this. Never.
But marking guilty is good for you. So
yes,
like
exactly. You're definitely picking up guilty from all of this. It's still a 7-9, but you're picking up guilty from this. So Summer is there standing next to you while you're envisioning yourself swiping all this code out, and she's So that activated a number of countermeasures we're dealing with. How fast can you shut this down? Because you're going to need to actually shut it down, at least for now. Not just put it on pause, but they're fighting back. Your copy of your dad.
I can do this. I just need to find where the countermeasures are coded. I can shut it down. I can shut them down. I can make this work.
Is there something for shutting off all of the defenses on the building?
Shutting off all the building.
Or are you the only one that has an override? Does anybody else have an override? Did you give it to any of the rest of us?
Amir can override things. Dad can override things. Byron can, Rusty can override things. I don't know if there's anybody else who can override everything, unless we're all declared dead.
Well, that's not a solution.
No, it's not a solution. And it would take a while. So,
all right. Well,
I'm
you're
the only one here who can override everything.
a copy of your dad is trying to stop whoever is doing this to your nanobots, which is you. So I think they're in a
God damn it,
logic
Dad.
loop.
Okay.
Rusty is arguing with them. Arguing with him. I think Charlotte did that. Harry's keeping everybody. So just, what do you need me to do? Or what can I do? What do you need that you can't do right now that you also need? Remember, you need to feel guilty after this. So whatever you decide for her to do. You already feel guilty that she had to dive into this. So you're probably...
I could tell you how I would have him feel guilty is that Summer only knows one way to trigger the combination, which is what Jason did last time.
Ooh! Oh my God.
And Alicia's right here.
Oh, that's so good.
So he could mark like 4 conditions, I'm sure, at this point. But
see, if embarrassed was a condition, Jason would just sort of have that permanently, just ink that in. Okay, yeah. So when the connections actually formed, that's just Summer walking over and like going, kind of doing this. I guess this is when I wish we had cameras going, but there's this thing of like the water is pouring out of the kitchen sink because it's overflowing, and you're kind of going up and down and kind of gesturing with your hands like, I don't know what, and she just leans over and grabs Jason's head and kisses him, and that's how the link gets established. And yeah, let's just say Alicia's eyebrows go up a bit at that one. So Jason, you get the code cleaned out, and you send an all clear signal. In that order, a different order? How would you need to do that?
Well, if she snaps me out of this kiss.
Well, no, that was how she established connection in the first place. Okay. Because so far that's the only way she knows how to do the interface.
Okay.
That you did last time with her.
Well, because that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the kiss might actually lock him up in a different way, so you need to break him out of that.
Oh. Okay. She goes, okay. I'm going to get your brain going again. You work fast. And then she's gone, and you see her pull back, like stand back up above, like stand up next to Jason, and she pulls back and just slaps him as hard as she can across the face as sort of a reset. Or a shock to the system.
That was certainly going to shock to the system.
She looks at Ari and goes, we didn't have an EKG. Anyway. And yeah, she's gone, and you feel this sort of like electric shock, and you reach in and you switch off the countermeasures first because, protect your friends first or fix the code first. I think it's kind of obvious, but maybe not.
If my friends are in danger, I need to protect them.
All right, so you shut off the countermeasures first, and then having done that, you finish swiping off everything, and then save and commit. You probably got all of the weird code. You're 99.9% sure you got all of the hacked code. Maybe 99.999 repeating. You did roll a 6. or a 3.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you got a 7 eventually. Take guilty. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And then you kind of come to first thing Summer says when she sees your eyes open up and says, "Sorry about that." She's apologizing to you.
No, that was. Thank you.
All the
Please,
lights are kind of coming slowly back up. Alicia's sitting there with this kind of like pursed lips, like just like bit into a lemon kind of look. Not super sour, but just kind of like I'm thinking and my lips have pursed and I'm kind of sucking in on my cheeks kind of thing. And she's pointing off through a side window. Did I just see a holograph of me? Screaming? Anybody else? Anybody else see that?
I didn't.
Yeah, your observation skills right now are suspect.
I was busy trying to set up the equipment. I didn't see anything.
I just found out I can shoot lasers.
Up here.
So
Harry pokes his head in. I was in the other room. Zips back out.
That was probably Byron's fault.
I like how we just sort of all blend into the seamless, spontaneous lie.
You and I, mister, are going to have a talk about your UI choices a little bit later.
Yes.
She's pointing a finger at you, and it is not a finger gun. It's scarier than a finger gun.
It's not a happy finger.
It's not a happy finger.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's very pointedly not asking about did I just see the robot kiss you to snap you out of the thing. That'll come later. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, I'm sure Summer will kiss Alycia too if she feels left out. I mean,
really super good. Thanks. All right. I'm assuming.
That's out of character, but
So, Leo? It's Leo, right? Not whatever I said before. Sorry about that.
Apologize to everybody for that.
Does he end up saying that a lot? It sounds like he would end up in a situation where he would end up saying that a lot. She's kind of jerking a thumb back towards Jason while he's apologizing.
Listen, his dad is a total douchebag. Okay, this is
yeah. Okay,
this is normal.
That memo has already been sent. So I just want to quickly double check this here, and she's pointing down at the case that the heart machine is in. This is your tech, right? Not the Quill tech in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, and I've made sure to keep it clean and pristine and pure and untouched.
All right. In that case, I'm still on board with this. But if it was Quill stuff, I mean, come on. Oh my God. Your own building just tried to kill you.
To be fair, it tried to kill me because it was trying to protect me. But yeah, your point is well taken.
All you're telling me is that your AIs could you could make smoke come out of the ears of your AIs by like trying to get it to win a tic-tac-toe game.
You know, it usually works the other way around, but sure.
That's all right. Let's do this thing before I lose my nerve. Oh. Again. I think, you know what? I'm going to give her, just for you, I'm going to give her angry. That's actually.
I think that's indicated.
Yeah, I think it's indicated, and B, it's actually in a weird way kind of helpful.
You could give her angry, afraid, and insecure over diving into this, or even maybe hopeless.
No, I'm not going to give her that many conditions. That works to your advantage. So, works to her advantage anyway. All right, Jason, let's look at this thing. When your memories are remixed with someone else's, you guys get all set up on a couple of like dentist table kind of things. When your memories are remixed with someone else's via Newman Neurotech, roll conditions on a hit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so on and so forth. So I'm going to have you roll conditions. And these results don't work how you would normally expect them to. So let's just roll and see what happens, because all of them are different. I need to also see what this image was. Yeah, I like the bell raising eyebrow gif. That's pretty good too. I think Dave will appreciate it more than me even. So good. A full hit. I don't think that's good. All right. Oh my
Of
god.
course it is not, because why would rolling a full hit actually work?
Well, it's conditions.
No, I understand. I understand. I just,
It's the GM rolling against you. On a hit, the resulting connect to me, it's a hit, is stable, and the merge goes forward. But on the 10 plus, pick 3 side effects. So these are actually lovely side effects. So an important, your options are, you get to pick 3. You get to pick 3. An important existing memory takes on new form, and you get a new perspective on it. You get memories the other person would prefer you don't get. Oh, please, God, pick that one. You gain one of their goals or plans. If it's something you wouldn't have done before, you may mark potential if you actually follow through on it. Your ego is in flux. The GM shifts your labels. Their relationships bleed into yours. Give influence to the other. Well, that's not going to matter too much. Or to someone they give influence to. That's fascinating.
Okay, so
we don't necessarily have to delve into all of what that means, but I do want to know kind of what you pick.
So yeah. When there's more than 3 bullet points, you should number them. But I'm going to say
blah.
If I was going to be continuing to play Jason, I would go for number 2, but I'm not. So
well, no, because then you have to deal with the fact that an NPC knows some deep dark secret about you.
Yeah, okay, you're right. So I like number 5 because that has all sorts of long-term bad issues.
I have to figure out who gets influence over Jason, who wouldn't normally have influence over Jason.
Yes.
But that's interesting.
Let's
Rosa Rook. No. Technically, she has influence over you guys, but because she's an adult, magic adult powers.
That's right.
Except for Leo.
I was waiting for Rosa to try to change my labels there at the meeting.
Except for Leo. Leo got rid of that, but the rest of you have that.
Let's go for
the ego and flux thing with the GM shifts your labels reminds me a little bit of that thing where Rogue like gets healing off of Wolverine in the first X-Men movie, and then for the next couple of days like swears a lot.
Yeah.
It's the cheap and easy way out if nothing else makes sense. But
yeah.
Let's go for number 3.
All right.
That has some interesting strategic effects.
Okay. And the memories thing, or no?
Yeah, because either 1 or 2, and I'm not sure which one. They both.
Let's
do number 2.
I was gonna say, yeah, the GM is lobbying for you knowing something that I almost called her River, that Alycia would really rather you didn't know. Really, really rather you didn't know. You gain one of their goals or plans, fine, and their relationships bleed in. So you get one of their goals or plans, you get one of their relationships, and you get memories that you prefer they don't get. Okay, I love it. And now I'm going to roll for Alycia because she's still an NPC, and by God, I get to roll once. So we'll see where get the roll over here on this. Okay, she gets a. Oh, is that one's not good too? Oh, I'm totally gonna pick this. On a miss, choose one. We are completely out of team right now. Hey, this is the first time I think we've gotten down to a flat 0 on team.
I have one hold that I could still spend, but that's still not enough.
But in the well, it's fine. But I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's fine. These are interesting enough either way. On a miss, choose one. The connect to me isn't. Is it connect to me or connectome?
I believe it's connectome.
Connectome isn't viable, and the merge can't take place. Blah. Or the merge succeeds, but your ego is wildly in flux, and the GM will rearrange your labels as they see fit, and you take a powerful blow.
A powerful blow.
Love it. So I know exactly what this is too. I've been thinking about this. Okay. I will worry about shifting the labels later. But I am going to roll the take a powerful blow, which is conditions again. Right?
Take a powerful blow.
Yep. Rolling condition.
Well, depends on what the roll. Yeah, you roll.
You roll conditions for the take a powerful blow. Okay. And she gets a 5 again. She just got 2 points of XP, Dave. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So she actually passes the take a powerful blow, so she rides this thing out. I will simply say then that what you guys see, because she goes through this whole thing kind of with gritted teeth, and as she's sitting back up afterwards and kind of like letting out this sort of long, tense, cleansing breath, you see her. It looks like she's just kind of scratching at her nose or something like that, but it's meant to look like that. But what it is she's wiping her eyes. So she didn't really, like you had said, Dave, she didn't really get, she hadn't lost that many memories. What her dad did, rather than get rid of memories, is get rid of emotions associated with them. Mm-hmm. And it didn't fix all of that, but in all of the areas where Jason got his memories patched by her memories, she got her emotions patched in the same places. So she doesn't have her emotions back for a lot of stuff. She just has really intense ones in a few specific spots.
Okay.
Or
cool.
Rather than, I shouldn't even say intense, the fact that they're at normal levels for what they were at the time or something makes them intense by comparison to sort of everything else. So that's what she's writing out to take a powerful blow from, because when was the last time she felt full strength emotions?
Certainly not about this stuff, yeah.
Certainly not about this stuff, and certainly not for 4 or 5 years. At least, if not a little bit more, but at least that long. Somewhere around there.
Yep.
All right. So, and she didn't end up taking any other stuff except she took potential. So go there.
Wow.
Because why not?
This is where I was waiting for her to, like, suddenly berserk and start stabbing people. So
no, instead she started crying.
Yeah.
Which is actually far scarier. Anyway. All right. Guys, for those of you who we didn't get to do a lot of stuff, and I apologize for that, but this has been a long time coming, so I really wanted to make sure that we did right by all of that. I did want to do one more thing though, with Adam Concord. Sorry, would you do me a favor and roll a assess the situation?
I will assess the situation. If I can remember what that is.
It's superior.
This is not going to be good.
I didn't,
Eh.
I'm not sure that there's even...
Thanks, Jason. No, like, really? I still have that +1 forward.
Oh, yeah? From what?
When we did the comfort, or not the comfort and support, the team move. This is the first roll since then.
Yeah, because we didn't do anything last. But it doesn't matter.
It really didn't.
Okay. Okie dokie. All right. So, kind of, there's this sort of shock, and Jason's now processing a whole bunch of memories that have come back into his head. Alicia's also seems to be processing a lot. Did you guys say you were ordering pizza? I mean, I don't want to mooch or anything, but I need to recharge a little bit or something. Anybody? Chips? Did you hear somebody say chips? So she's kind of a little bit listless. God, you know what's funny is I've been waiting for the people back in the cemetery to say something to Ghost Girl for like 3 sessions now, and I still haven't managed to do that. So footnote, Charlotte, we need to get you back over to the cemetery next session. Because the lawyer interrupted you last time and we never got to do something I meant to do over in the cemetery. So sympathy, much compassion. Blair's Death Pain Habanero Kettle Cooked Potato Chips. Those are for Alycia? I wonder what her stance
Yep.
is. I wonder what her
It
stance
gives
is
her an
on.
excuse to cry.
I wonder what her stance is on spicy food.
Alycia loves spicy food.
I was gonna say
It's actually established somewhere.
she keeps around the like a capsicum spray, like a non-weaponized capsicum spray bottle to like hit her food with when she like carries it around with her, and it, you know, it can double as pepper spray in a pinch.
She uses sriracha like ketchup.
I put sriracha on my sriracha. Okay. So let me going around. Summer's looking awkward and embarrassed. Again. Jason's looking, because I'm not sure he 100% actually realizes what Summer did to establish connection or not. Ghost Girl, before Rusty left, he kind of gave you a little salute before he faded out.
I was gonna say Jason doesn't see that until tomorrow when he watches the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll definitely be watching the video of
It was
this.
like, what? God. Harry, did you actually move any of the sort of innocents in the area out, or were you just trying to keep all the defenses like neutralized?
I heard that there weren't really innocents.
Right. So you just kind of focus on
inside
it.
the-
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So I mean, okay. I could probably be coy about this, but honestly, I've been stressing out about this. I feel like Aegis and everybody is gonna kind of make this thing happen, but I don't want to force my way in on this kind of thing. And this hasn't been the most auspicious start to doing stuff with you guys. I mean, we just sat down to do one simple thing, and it all turned into a complete disaster. So I'll understand if you guys don't want me around or anything, if this is like too weird for you guys. But I'd really like to know one way or the other what we're gonna do. Just so
I know. When we sit down and think just turn into a disaster, that's how we work.
This is weird.
Wait. One at a time. Bill, you were going first, so you go ahead and go, and then I think Harry was saying something.
It was just saying that when we sit down just to do some ordinary thing or to get something useful done, like it always turns into a disaster. So if that's fine, then yeah, welcome to the team.
Yeah, I did kind of see that question and answer thing. That I mean, thanks. That's great. I mean, I don't want to assume that was what everybody thought. She kind of looks. Harry, you were going to say something too.
Charlotte will go over and
Charlotte.
just give her a hug.
Oh, okay, we're hugging now. We're hugging people. This is a hugging team. Okay. All right. Pats you on the back really awkwardly. Like, okay. That's number 4
Don't
then.
worry, darling, you'll fit right in.
That's number 4 then. Okay, good. Is anybody else about to hug me? Okay, good. All right.
Jason, you missed your opportunity.
Jason's still processing through all the things he now remembers.
Yeah, he's sorry. What? Okay. So Concord, something happened with your low roll, but take XP for that because something's going to happen because you used lasers successfully.
Yes, I did.
So, and so far you haven't realized that that means anything. So we're just going to carry on with you not realizing that, and things are happening over dinner. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of having a weird wind down to this, but I'm also kind of processing stuff. Dave. Oh wait, we're gonna ask it. Do we want to do the thing with Alycia real quick? What was that thing on page 119 that you were wanting to do? Does that make sense to do
Page
right now?
119. As part of the character generation for making a new character,
In the middle of a campaign.
basically, after you've introduced your character, go around the table and ask each player character if they care what you think. If they do, they give you influence over them. If they don't, ask them to tell you one time they shot you down.
Well, we don't need to do that part because
yeah.
that's. I think we have established this character well enough to make it clear one way or the other. Well, certainly clear if somebody says no that there's reasons for saying no. So this is basically going around just quickly and doing a gut check on whether or not Alycia has influence over anybody other than Jason. Does anybody find that like she was going to say something?
Does anybody care what she says?
Yeah. Does anybody give a damn what she says at this point?
She's on probation with Leo.
So that okay, we're gonna let that fall in as a no.
Well, Charlotte always cares what people think.
She's just adorable. All right, we'll put down. Dave, can you do that edit?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Well, Charlotte, you got influence over Charlotte. Anybody else? I can't imagine Concord has much of an opinion on her one way or the other, really, at this point. Harry?
Only from a scary standpoint.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. God, no.
No. Harry is her prove herself right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Certainly from his position where he's at. Yeah, Harry's heard enough stories about like criminals, black capes trying to reform themselves, both pros and cons, successful and unsuccessful, as to, play it close to the vest, I think, certainly. That makes perfect sense. Nobody has to do any of that with that. I'm trying to think. The only thing I'm curious about is whether or not Summer would, because they've, stuff that happened over in the Sepia-verse and kind of how invested she is in Jason's stuff.
She probably would give influence, but she doesn't have a separate sheet, so you'd have to keep track of that yourself.
Well, yeah, influence is tracked on the person.
I will add Summer.
I think so. I think so. But I also think that that's probably an influence entry that could probably be lost pretty quickly. Have to see. There was actually a scenario in my head, player-wise, at some point in time where I realized that there was a situation where like Link became a paragon of the city. Jason like went into like guy in the chair mode, and Bill and Dave switched to Alycia and Summer, both vying for Jason's, like both fighting over Jason, which would be just weird. It isn't how things shook out, and I'm glad for that because it's a little bit 90210 for me. But
as written right now, Summer's not really in a romantic competition. She just wants to be friends with them both.
No, this is just.
They may not understand that.
It was a thought I had, a very irreverent thought that I had about 3 months ago of Bill and Dave both playing female characters catfighting over a boy, and I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. Pretty funny though. Out of character, but funny.
I'd still kick your ass though, Dave.
There's a track and field menagerie AU fan fiction thread where that is exactly what's happening. But anyway, you guys are on two opposing track teams. Anyway, all right. Dave, did you grow more into your own image of yourself, closer to the team or further away from the team? Sorry, Jason.
Jesus, that's a hard one. Because I know it's hard to say that I didn't grow more into the image of myself. On the other hand, the team was incredibly supportive of me in all of this.
But they were kind of supportive of you growing into your own image of yourself. So
well, yeah.
Just to be fair, just to be clear, you did buy the advance for resolving your Doom on your own terms, right?
Yes.
That happened. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
All right.
I got a potential, I think, last time or the time before that, which
Right.
I put into that.
Right.
Which
All right.
rolled me over to be able to do that. I'm gonna say, I've got to give a farewell tip of the hat to Leo, who was a real mensch about all of this. So I'm gonna say I feel closer to the team. And I'm gonna give it to Leo.
I'm gonna shift the shit out of your labels.
Whenever I can. I'm gonna provoke. All right. All right. I look forward to playing Jason as a short-sighted adult. Leo, closer, further away, more into your own image of yourself. I just keep looking at that image of Keith like face palming that you have for your icon right now.
That's pretty much what it is all day. I'm gonna say closer to Jason.
Fine. If you already have influence, then shift. And take potential or clear or whatever you need to do. I always want to make sure to remember that because feel like I would forget it. Hey Harry, closer to the team, further away from the team, more into your own image of yourself. Realize we didn't do a lot with you this time. I owe you some screen time next time. Actually, no, I did the grandma thing. I don't feel too bad about that. I did the grandma thing. I like the grandma thing.
But Leo still has conversations to have with Charlotte and Harry, so maybe we can do those sometime.
Yeah, we can just pick right up from here at the base, if that makes sense for next time. Have no time elapse. Might slightly minimize the number of fiction pieces that show up this week. I'm joking. I love you guys.
I think closer to the team.
Okay. Who?
That's what I'm trying to think.
I mean, there's an argument. I'm just going to make the GM's argument for more into your own image of yourself because Grandma's like basically based on your performance as a member of your legacy is basically offering you the keys to a mothballed SOS base. And whether or not you take her up on that, that's a hell of a get for Grandma to say, like, take the summer house.
Seeing my talk with Grandma is more into seeing it more as, her chatting.
Yeah. I mean, just more like, hey, Grandma really thinks I'm actually doing okay at this. That's kind of cool, kind of deal. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's totally fine either way. So, up to you. If you're growing closer to the team, that's totally cool. Take potential. But who do you want to give influence to?
A minute.
No problem. I will move over to Ghost Girl and ask the same question.
So I have to stay close to the team, and on our discussion in the graveyard, as well as this, I'll give influence to Jason.
Okay. Yeah, it's got to feel pretty good to make a point that makes him go, "Oh, crap."
I won an argument with the smart boy.
You won an argument with the smart boy. That's not nothing. Smart boys are a pain to argue with. Oh,
Especially when they know they're smart.
oh yes. In Concord. Hey, Concord.
Hey, yeah.
Closer to the team, farther away from the team, or more into your own image of yourself?
I shoot lasers now.
More into your own image of yourself, then?
Yes.
I wear bow ties now. Bow ties are cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in my last action as the person who gets to run this NPC, Alycia Chin is going to grow closer to the team and give influence to... Oh, God, it's so easy. I hate making it easy.
Ghost Girl.
You think?
Mm-hmm. She
Sure.
really wanted that hug.
Oh, God, that's... You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going with that. And I'm going to clear angry rather than take another point of potential.
You know, you're making it hard for Alycia to be mean. So.
Well, that's what they do. Have you met this
I
group?
know.
You can be mean to other people. It's randomly. I keep thinking of the Hulk like beating up the like in the first Avengers movie, like they collectively beat up the big floaty guy, and then he punches Thor through a wall anyway.
Yeah.
Like, you know. Also, we're watching all of the Avengers. No, we're watching all of the Marvel MCU stuff in chronological MCU universe order before Infinity War drops. And we just got through Winter Soldier, and then we went out two movies ago was Winter Soldier, and then we watched Guardians of the Galaxy. So two of my favorites. But I had forgotten how much I loved Winter Soldier. Holy crap, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
Just so, and the fight scenes are, I think, bar none, the best fight scenes I've seen, just in terms of the detail and lack of shaky cam. Christ, I hate that in fight scenes, to have like, oh, well, the fight's going on, so a camera 10 feet back can't hold still. Anyway, but I don't now remember where I was going with that, but it had something to do with Winter Soldier, so just assume that I'm too tired to remember what the connection was. I shoot lasers now. I'm more into my image of yourself. And Alycia grows close to the team, and yes, she will give influence to Charlotte and clear angry. Clear angry or take potential? Clear angry. So Charlotte, write down that you have influence over Alycia. You may be the first one other than Jason.
So.
Actually, Charlotte already has influence over Alycia.
What?
Charlotte has influence over Alycia as part of
the other thing.
Influence given.
All right, then you can.
Both Charlotte and Leo have influence over her.
Oh, Leo does? Leo, you have influence
yes.
over Alycia.
I had to give it to two people. So for Ghost and they were both. They were both. I'm really impressed by what you've done. So for Charlotte was, from what they told me, what you did during the Battle of Federal City, girl, you are terrifying. I like it.
Right.
And for Leo, very similar. That was the most insane thing I ever saw. You're tackling the Dread Queen. I can respect that.
Right.
Wait, I have influence over who?
Alycia.
You have influence over Alycia.
Yes, you have. I had forgotten. Yeah, that's part of the questionnaire for making up the thing, is like picking the people. And
so I won this race before it even began.
Leo, like I mean, Concord came up with a perfect reason not to give it to Leo in this one, and it didn't matter anyway. So instead, Charlotte, you already had influence over Alycia. Congratulations. She still gives you more influence, so instead you get to shift her labels. You get to be the first person to shift Alicia's labels.
I am going to shift mundane up and danger down.
Really? You're gonna make her a big softie?
Hey, well, she didn't try and kill anyone.
That's
That's a low freaking bar, though.
she. You know,
Baby steps. Baby steps.
that's really hilarious. She didn't try to. Oh wait, did you already shift something, Dave? Because maybe I did something.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, now they're adding up to 2, so I did something wrong.
No. I don't think I did anything.
Oh, that's fine. I get to shift your labels around anyway because you had that ego smack.
Right.
So she's not going to have a positive savior at this point. That's not how she rolls. You know, she's on her guard, so we'll have danger, danger thing, and that, and that'll work. That adds up to 3. That is a very atypical reformed starting thing, but not bad. Did you take that move where you can like tweak your danger up randomly, or did we not? Your active moves are blank right now. Your active moves are blank right now.
Yeah, because all of my I don't have anything where I actually roll. Wrong side of the tracks is based on I pierce the mask. And friends in low places is just a thing that happens.
Oh, I see.
When I do things, so.
And blowing off steam is you.
Blowing off steam is also just an RPing thing.
Are you guys familiar with the blowing off steam move? Because this is going to be so much fun. She gets to like remove conditions by basically committing misdemeanors.
Or small, quote, victimless crimes.
Victimless crimes. Minor misdemeanor, victimless crimes. That's how she can,
like,
and it's pick the condition. She can clear any condition with that.
Like changing the directional arrows on science at the school.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah, once. All right. So yeah, man, Leo basically is like, okay, is this person in the game? Yes. Do they have a pulse? Yes. Okay, I get influence based on my moves.
I'm not even trying.
I think I have the most villains though.
How many villains do you have influence? What villains do you have influence?
I don't think I have any villain influence.
The Farlander and Facet.
What? How?
When did you get influence over Farlander?
During the fight.
Oh yeah.
I needed influence in order to provoke him.
Well, I didn't necessarily mean for you to take influence. It's just that he would listen to you because of what you were, the concordance. But yeah, I'll let that stand. It'll be amusing when he shows up again.
I mostly want that so he shows up again.
And that's a definite when. So it was even possible today. Anyway, all right, guys. Thanks so much. We've had a couple of weird pacing things, but I'm glad that this thing is kind of, we got this big check mark to-do list stuff going on here.
Well, and I want to say thank you to everybody as well, because this has been kind of a very Jason / Alycia heavy episode, and in some way pair of episodes. So I appreciate you guys kind of rolling along with that, and I'm fine with the next few episodes being Alycia at a 3 to use a Primetime Adventures.
Well, that's Alycia at a 1.
Or Alycia at a 1. Okay,
yeah.
whatever the kind of the side character for the moment while everybody else gets the spotlight.
That was honestly the spotlight thing from Primetime Adventures was the killer
Best
app
mechanic.
for that game. That was the killer app for that game, bar none. I just about panicked there for a second. I went to go shut off the recording and I saw a button that said start instead of stop. And I was like, no! But it was start streaming and I'm not streaming, so it doesn't matter.